Hey everyone, for this episode of Adam Answers, I'm going to turn to a question that we received on Facebook. And this question comes from Daniel Yoshinari. Hopefully I said your name correctly. But this is a really interesting question. I'll just read the question in its entirety. It says, just wondering, when counselors are trained, what are the ethical guidelines for introducing religious ideas into sessions with patients and clients? So I'm going to attend to this in a solution-focused way because that's where my expertise lies, even though this is a really general question. But I think I'll begin with a bit of a general background. And typically, I would say when clinicians are trained, there's almost like a double-edged standard that gets set forward. One is that you need to take into consideration and be considerate and compassionate about someone's religious or spiritual beliefs. But on the other hand, there's a real importance of not introducing your own values, your own principles, or placing evaluative judgment on somebody's principles, values, beliefs. And sometimes I think those two imperatives can kind of intersect in a way. I think from a solution-focused perspective, one of the things that I would say is that we're constantly looking for how we can utilize the client's language. And if the client is a particularly religious or spiritual person, then inevitably that language is going to come into the conversation. Those belief systems are going to come into the conversation because that's where meaning lies for them. And that's the other thing I would say is that from a solution-focused perspective, we want to ask questions that help the client to describe change, but not just any change. We want to help them to describe meaningful change. And religion or spirituality might be the frameworks with which clients make this meaning, or that kind of laces their meaning in all that they do. One of the things I would say is, in your question, you said, what are the guidelines for introducing religious beliefs or ideas into the session? And I would say we want to be very, very cautious about introducing religious ideas. But one of the things that we want to be also equally inviting of is we want to invite clients to feel comfortable to bring their religious ideas to therapy. One of the ways that we can do that is we can say, things like, and if you began to notice your desired outcome appearing, what differences would that make to you? What would that mean about you? And as we ask these difference questions and these meaning questions, it invites clients to be able to say, well, it would mean that I'm becoming a disciple of Jesus Christ, or it means that I am living the purpose for which I have to be living here on this earth, or it means that I'm becoming one with the universe in a way that's just right. Any one of those answers is a completely fine answer, and any one of those answers requires me as the clinician to pick up that language, to ask, what difference would it make to you to become a disciple of Jesus Christ, to become one with the universe, to fulfill your purpose in this way? And as I use my expertise of language, and I incorporate their expertise of language that is from their religious background, that's where two experts begin to co-construct a reality that's really meaningful and really important to them as a client. And I think that's the thing that I would say is our ethical obligation is to be benevolent, to do things that are good for our clients. If someone feels guided or led by religious principles, we are obligated to use those principles to help them to create meaningful change. Now, I think one of the things that's really important about this, about the caution of introducing religious ideas, is one, I don't know what resonates for one client over another, so I can't introduce concepts to them. In addition to that, people's religious experiences kind of vary across their lifetime. Sometimes they may feel very close or connected to their religious principles and values. Other times they might feel a bit more distance from that. And so I can't assume that if somebody identifies as a religious person that it's going to be the central feature of who they are. But I need to leave room for allowing the client to make that the central feature, or to make that an ancillary feature of what they talk about within therapy. And so I think in addition to that, I would say we need to be really cautious about making assumptions about what someone believes. If they say, I'm a Muslim or I'm a Christian or I'm a Jew or whatever, we have to be very careful about making assumptions about what that means. And so we ask questions like, and if those principles guided you in your decision making, what would be the first thing that you would notice? What difference would it make if you were living your religion in a way that was meaningful to you? This open-ended questioning helps them to be able to articulate really clearly what makes a difference to them, what doesn't. It helps them to bring their expertise of religion into the room. We simply co-construct meaning with what they identify is meaningful to them. So I think benevolence is a really important ethical guideline, non-malfeasance, which is do no harm. So we don't want to invoke religion where people don't ascribe to religion. We don't want to over-prescribe religion where that's not useful. And we also don't want to leave religion out if that's where people find meaning and value. By doing that, we in essence are communicating that portion of you isn't acceptable or isn't welcome here in this session. So I think those two things are very important. I think another ethical principle that's really valuable to consider in this is justice, treating each client fairly, treating each client the same. What this means as far as religion is we don't have to say everybody has to have the same religion or everybody has to talk about religion in the same way. But what we do is we give each client an equal opportunity to either include or exclude religion as part of the meaning making. And we can do that by simply asking, what is it about your identity? What strengths, what skills, what resources do you have that you can draw on in these particular moments of hardship or difficulty? That opens the door for somebody to say, my belief in God or my belief in something else really influences how I'm walking through this world. And that allows us to ask follow-up questions about this in a way that's really meaningful. So I think we have an ethical obligation to welcome religion into the room if the client feels that it's important to them to include it in the room. That means that we have to rely on our clients and their expertise, their willingness to talk about it, but we need to be open to accepting it, and we need to be open to asking questions that can potentially invite it. So hopefully that's helpful as you think about how to incorporate religion into your work. I would love to hear your thoughts and considerations as you think about this topic.